the Tomb of the Spider Queen as the final map for this particular series. This, remember, ladies and gentlemen, is our 4th series of the day of our final week, which means one of two things. One, we are over halfway done, and this could still end up being a 1-1, giving CE the best chance to catch up and maybe tie with SPT, which would create some wonderful tiebreakers. And it also means that after this, I believe we are getting an episode of HOTS Academy.
Oh, you are correct. I was looking forward to that the entire week. And finally, we get to see our Chinese colleagues, I don't really say duke it out, but they are very rarely fighting. What would you say? Like, they're getting it done at the academy? Getting stuff done?
It's an academy, so they're learning.
They're learning. Because knowledge is power.
They are learning and imparting wisdom. Hurrah.
All right. So here's... Oh, man. I just love this MyF ban, man. I was going to say one thing. I'm expecting a MyF Bloodlust come from SPT because that's exactly how they had this record, almost world record win against KT earlier in the season. So beyond the game, doing their homework, banning away the MyF, doesn't really mean, though, that we can see a Bloodlust comp from SPT.
That's true. Deckard banned, especially in BTG getting first pick. If they picked Malfurion away, it could have been an option. For now, though, they've gone for Urel, so SPT will probably pick up Malfurion along with someone else, likely a Hanzo or something like that.
All right, is SPT going to show the Rhaegar early, or are they trying to make their opponents even more suspicious by saving it for later? I could even see, you know, in a world where BTG ends up picking Malfurion now, they could even second ban Rhaegar. I
really don't think they're going to break up. Yeah, it was going to be Malf and either Hanzo or Phoenix. They chose the Phoenix this time.
Exactly. So they would have been on a severe support choke if that had gone through. Like if Beyond the Game had picked the Malfurion and then banned the Rhaegar, there wouldn't have been much left for SPT to really pick in that matter. They go for Alexstrasza. We completely forgot about the Queen herself. She is still in there and actually a really solid hero.
Problem being, this is not Infernal Shrines. It is still a fantastic map due to the fact that area control is a little bit important, not as important as Infernal Shrines, but if you can control a turn-in or at least zone a turn-in while your team attempts to move in, then you can get value there. And of course, the Dragon Queen on the boss point can be crazy value. See you later, Sergeant Hammer.
Yeah, I like that. Better be safe than sorry, you know. I can totally see SPT trying to make this a very normal standard game without any Sergeant Hammer shenanigans. Although they could have picked it themselves, but then you rely on double auto attackers, if you will. Sergeant Hammer and Phoenix would have been a little susceptible to blinds. To Acacia, maybe. Let's see, beyond the game. They could ban a tank now. Maybe Murden. Maybe a Garrosh after Murden had already been picked. They go for the Jaina instead.
Down it goes. So what is the next assassin here? With slows being removed left, right, and center here. Johanna should be the tank at this point. For starters, she's great on this map. For second, she's a good... She's a
Stitches,
slow.
maybe?
Stitches, maybe.
Misaka's played it in the past. It's not the worst map for him.
It's an excellent point. And they're holding their tank till last. It could be the Bamboozle as they Tracer Tassadar.
All right, so saving the tank for last. I think in a Tracer Tassadar composition, the tank choice, true, is still important, right? Don't get me wrong, but the other components are more crucial that you secure them. So I'm not sure about that Tassadar pick, though. So here's probably their thinking process. Tassadar would have never gotten stolen away, even if we had picked the Tracer early. But we want to see what kind of last picks the enemy team goes for, so we can pick a warrior that counters the Cassia, for example.
What does counter the Cassia? That is
Arthas?
Yeah. Arthas potentially.
But nobody else except for the one plays it.
That's an excellent point. I mean, I assume Misaka can play it. Misaka's a god. So, I don't know. I mean, I still think Stitches, honestly. Everyone's
like
hookable
too.
except for, like, Muradin and Zeratul.
Hey!
But no, it turns out Misaka has got the Arthas on lock.
And now things are getting really interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We have that permanent ability damage, the permanent slows against Cassia, the root as well. So you keep her on point. So if you keep Cassia rooted from the Howling Blast, from the Entangling Roots, she won't get the bonus physical resistance, the physical armor. So that might be the time for the team of SPT to collapse on her. Simultaneously, Arthas brings decent turn and point control, decent wave click for a warrior. So while they lack stuns, right? while they lack this hyper-mobile engaging warrior, I'm still quite interested and fascinated and intrigued by the team comp that SPT chose here.
As am I, and it does sound very exciting in the fact that we haven't seen a Tracer in a fair amount outside of that one burst comp we saw from RPG earlier. And, well, SPT's Tracer style is very different. For starters, leeching rounds is literally a chicken exclusive.
Yeah.
But that Cassia could be the game changer. It has to be a Lightning Fury build now to avoid the Arthur. So that's already a bit of an issue against Tracer. But it still could be great for pinging down that Tassadar.
I agree. Now, the Alexstrasza is looking... So there's no anti-healing available except for potential root anti-healing coming in from Malfurion, which I don't think we're going to see. It's by far the rarest of talent that we are used to seeing. So Alexstrasza is a little bit susceptible to Tracer herself right now. Sometimes, if she's getting pressured early, she will have to use the Dragon Queen or the Cleansing Flame as an escape, which means she can't use it during an actual team fight. But are SPT going to dominate? We're going to find out in a bit. With Lucky on that Phoenix, Melody C's playing the Tracer, Misaka on Arthas this time, Soap on Tassadar, and the double support goes complete with ZZH on Malfurion.
And on the right-hand side, it is going to be Beyond the Game with 619 on Muradin, LLK on Zeratul, Druid on the Alexstrasza, Dancing on Cassia, and 3 playing the GOAT. It is Yorel, greatest of all time until she gets nerfed. But for now, Yorel has been an absolutely spectacular solo laner so far and needs to try and keep that up against excuse me, the composition of SPT. Looks like I think she may end up laning against Phoenix or Arthas.
Yeah, I think so too. Arthas very unlikely though because he is the only frontliner they really have. So I think it's probably going to be Phoenix. Maybe we're not even going to see these clear like lane distributions, right? Maybe it's going to be a mix, a wild mix in between with everybody just constantly rotating between the lanes. So let's see, as you said, Thunderstroke on the Cassia to keep additional distance from the Arthas, because the moment she gets slowed, she is vulnerable, she's exposed. Tassadar by the same token going for a little bit of wave clear himself. Psionic Infusion. And in the late game, with that double storm, Tassadar becomes a lane controlling monster on this map.
Also does just a straight up a fair amount of damage. It's just good to see. It's a good talent pick in general, which is why the other talents unfortunately have just fallen massively out of favor. Which is a shame, because I keep saying I quite like the Tassadar auto attack percentage damage build. I thought it was very funny. Just seeing Tassadar just laser someone and seeing their health just drain.
When the tickle beam becomes a tearing beam.
Yes, exactly. It's where the tickle beam has been tickling for just 1 second too long, and you're like, nope, I am done with this, and just immediately require leaving. As we do see the blind not landing on Melody, able to dodge it this time. So he's just burning down a little bit more damage onto 619. The root's good on dancing as well, but with the avoidance active, this can be a pulse bomb on an LK, which is healed up quickly by Druid.
Yeah, but the more you force these Qs out of Alexstrasza, you know, the more her own health is going to drop eventually. And that means, of course, that her healings on the Q won't be as effective anymore. So pressuring either the mana or the health household of an Alexstrasza is really going to cripple her combat performance as a whole. So she's going to be forced to use more abundance circles to heal herself back up. Beautiful dodging and juking here, by the way, by Melody C. Just basically schooling 619, at least for now. Maybe he can come back on the Muradin.
Doing the same to dancing as well. Just absolutely
so good.
The stacks just via pure micro.
And that is really good, you know, if you have a skilled Tracer player who knows how to juke and evade those skill shots, right? Because it goes a little easier on your supports. It saves a couple of Tassadar shields, maybe saves Malfurion a little bit of mana too. 619 in trouble right now. Looks like that pressure coming in from that Tracer combo is actually quite respectable for Beyond the Game.
Really is. They are putting on a clinic here, trying to make some kind of play. As LK cleaves out the mercenary in the middle of the map, doing a little bit of extra work there. 619 needs to be careful. Root from Arthas lands. He has to drop the slam, gets the dwarf toss, which gives him the armor, and he survives the pulse bomb.
That he did, and look at the overall gem count here, by the way, Tetcher. I mean, Beyond the Game struggled a little bit to keep those lanes in check, right? But what they did do very well was to deliver those gems, those payments. So only roughly 18 more until they unlock the first set of Web Weavers, which is very nice for them.
Yeah, overall, turns out, if you look at the actual gem count, SPT haven't actually been picking up gems as efficiently as BTG. With BTG, 32 in, 19 in hand, that's 51. Whereas 50 has only just been picked up by SPT, and there's a minion. They are a minion wave ahead as BTG are picking up the minion wave that SPT just did.
All right, Melody C continues to juke and dodge projectiles left, right, and center. So dropping a little bit low, he needs to be careful. His Zeratul brother, his Protoss brother, Zeratul, there we go. Could try to go for a sneaky engage on Tassadar's. And that's actually what we've seen in the previous game as well, in which Tassadar was played when SPT played against CE. How well certain heroes like Zeratul, like Irel, can actually pressure a Tassadar and force him out of combat.
But SPT are finally starting to get some gems turned in. 19 to 32 currently. Both teams, as you can see by the fact that the gems in the bottom are glowing, this means that they both have enough for a turn in. The question is getting them in. Wasn't a question, was a statement. But the question is, can they?
Get beyond the game, trying to make things happen here. Melody C getting smacked a little bit on that Tracer by the Hammer of 3. Going in very aggressively onto Dancing. The Dragon Queen being forced immediately as a response.
Carla's embrace on Melody C, though, keeping him nice and topped up. As we see the attempted turn in mid-fight by Dancing. So we'll be able to interrupt that with just the Tickle Beam. All that is required here, at least for the moment, as Lucky trades out his shield.
Storms as well, buying more time here. Here comes the Abundance from Druid. Are they going to capitalize on that, though? Arthur slowing everybody down, but beyond the game remains alive for now, and it looks like the blue Web Weavers are going to be the first one to ascend.
Sneaky turn in mid-fight. 3 gets taken out, and the greed to try and deny this gets a huge amount of damage done to BTG. But it is the turn-in and first blood going over to Super Perfect Team.
Yeah, that was a really good position for Arthas there as well, right? Slowing absolutely everybody on those frozen wastes, on the frozen Tempest. Absolutely fantastically done. And that also means that his level 4 talent is going to stack up quite nicely. And if you guys remember what it does, the Lingering Cold, it will keep enemies slowed even after they get out of the Frozen Tempest of Arthas. So more chasing potential, more catching up potential for the Tracer and her compadres.
Always gotta love that. Boy. You've also gotta love Arthas slows as Dancing gets taken out. Arthas, standard build, all is required. Although he has gone for Rhyme instead of the level 1 root talent. It's lucky, teleports over the ball, even survives the counter engage.
Like, neither Muradin nor Irel had their mobility spells available, it seems like. Otherwise, they could have tried to follow Lucky all the way over the wall, but it looks like he waited for that perfect moment once again. And once again, Misaka, he's like a pit bull. He won't let go of his targets once he locked in on them. And we mentioned this during the draft Tetra, right? Arthas, in those situations, when you want to chase people down, when you want to slow down people, especially like Cassia, he is still an absolute menace, an absolute beast.
Arthas, the original Garrosh, I would describe, in terms of the way you fear him. It's just like, oh no, he's walking at me at a regular pace. I'm doomed! Because it is scary. Once he is on you, you are in trouble. Whereas Garrosh throws you, Arthas just straight up just doesn't let you leave, as Lightning Fury has finished stacking.
Yeah, really great accuracy there by Cassia, although she was getting bullied and pressured early on quite a bit. Still able to get that Thunderstroke complete. Now 2 charges of her Lightning Spear already. Misaka, man, handing in those 16 gems. They do have enough for yet another one. Melody C, oh man, this is SPT at its finest, at their finest here. Getting back-to-back pay-ins, that could snowball out of control for Beyond the Game already. Because now, boards are going to fall.
Grabbing some Siege Giants as well. Lucky, the only one with gems left, moves in for the turn-in. This is going to be a Siege Giant, a Web Weaver push. 619 comes for the interrupt, but it's too slow. Am I fearing? Am I fearing? Careful now. Stuns it down, but there's no damage here. It's just a poke, I guess.
Can you actually bait that? I think Misaka was already on his way. Maybe they anticipated that Muradin was all by himself there. They tried to make the dwarf overextend a little bit. But as we said, here come the Web Weavers. Here come the Spider reinforcements for SPT. And it looks like Arthas so far is doing a formidable job keeping the opponents in his vicinity.
Holds the line, but runs out of minions, so is forced to back up a bit. As such, one of the Siege Giants also falls. Very unfortunate for SPT. They would have loved for that to stay alive, but their minion waves just did not line up, unfortunately. But they're still going to be able to push in. Still a single Siege Giant, still Web Weavers in all 3 lanes, but Zeratul doing a fantastic job of completely wiping out the top one on his lonesome there.
Yeah, in the meantime, bottom lane is completely destroyed, though at least the tier 1 defense is here. Middle also taking crippling damage. Look at those Tassadar Storms as well, just dealing so much damage over time, continuously zoning out the enemies. And only now will LLK join his teammates. Now, there's a Blessing, right? Blessing is 29 gems onto Zeratul. That's a good amount. The Curse hold that Thought Ardent Defender keeps Irel alive. But the Curse Tetra is on Zeratul. When you have this many gems, you need to be very careful on how you make your greedy plays.
Yeah, you can't do your dives, which is, I think, why he's actually not here defending with his team. He's hoping his team can defend so that the second the Web Weavers die, which has already happened, in 10 seconds, the objective will be open. Zeratul is going to try and turn in.
But I think
SPT
realizes this.
They realize.
Oh,
Oracle.
So
no
smart.
Oracle. But they're still here in time. They see the shimmer disappear into the distance, but like you said, so smart. Immediately reacting, they knew Zeratul had not been seen for a while. Where could he possibly be? The objective was spawning again in about 3 seconds. So they rotate to the one place that Zeratul could be, seeing as he wasn't showing clearing lanes and he wasn't showing in base. And that was to the turning point and force Zeratul to back up.
And this is why counting enemy heroes or remembering where they were last seen is so important in pro play.
Remembering their gem counts, actually.
Yeah. Like the moment you realize, hey, Zeratul hasn't been seen for a while, well, if he doesn't help defend here because we can get more structures than we originally were intended to, well, he must be somewhere plotting. He may be a cheeky turn, and that's exactly what they were suggesting. It's exactly what they were thinking of. And as such, Beyond the Game is still trying desperately to get their first turn in going.
Isaka finds 619, begins to slow him and build up those stacks. Dwarf Toss has to be used, but the slow lingers at least a little bit. Here comes the turn in finally. Yrel was in fact able to sneak that in.
The slows.
Now, also, the damage onto LLK. Armor is applied via Yrel, keeping him alive, but the slows and root 619 will fall here. Dancing will likely fall as well. Armor being applied once again by Yrel, but Yrel might have accidentally just delivered herself to this kill trade as well. Yes, she has. Oh, Argent Defender back off cooldown. It keeps Yrel alive.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, now we see the value of Arthas, not just in terms of slowing the enemies down, you know, and allowing Tracer and her friends to chase them down, but also in terms of synergy. We totally forgot to mention this. You know, consistent slows, similar to Raynor, actually, with his Ace in the Hole talent, with that Purification Salvo, if it lands on those slow targets, it's going to deal massive, massive damage.
Exactly, which is a huge problem for BTG because Alexstrasza's healing takes a little bit to come to bear. So if you don't have that kind of healing immediately to protect against that Purification Salvo, you're gonna have issues. And look at this, Web Weaver's cleaned up, got a single fort going down, but they have more than enough for a chain turn, and due to the fact that Zeratul, he was able to survive the engage of Tracer.
Yeah, this is like the most important thing for Beyond the Game right now. Although this Web Weaver phase or wave didn't really do a whole lot, it's now pivotal. It's important for them to not lose any of their gems because they need those waves to come back and experience eventually.
Isaka trying to turn in. His team also now have enough for another turn in, so they're going to be trying to do so. Melody C now next on that turn in train, and going to be interrupted by BTG, who begin moving forward. Armor applied by Yrel. Not this time, actually. It's like 619 accidentally dodged it.
Teams are in even talents now, Tetcher, and it looks like Beyond the Game immediately is starting to get a little more aggressive here. They're trying to make something happen. We haven't seen a really good team fight VP just yet. And look at Zeratul, he's completely getting outzoned by the Arthas, completely getting slowed there as well. When are they going to try to flip the switch here? When are they deciding to make something happen with that VP? So many members already dropping low in HP, and the Cleansing Flame as a countermeasure needs to be used.
Yrel comes forward, giving 35 armor to that Muradin. This will allow him to tank through that Purification Salvo. In comes the Dragon Queen right after the Cleansing Flame. Once again, keeping LLK alive.
VP.
Drops a pretty decent VP, but actually ends up getting 2 of his own team instead of the enemy team. LLK, once again, dropped low. Can't afford to die. He's got 40 gems. 619 is going to be the one to fall here, most likely. 3 getting dropped low. 619 actually escapes with the Dwarf Tusk. It's going to be Dancing, who will drop instead. Everyone else escapes. But gems are still being held. Then if they're not in the turning point, then there might as well just be no gems at all.
And that is currently the dilemma that Beyond the Game finds themselves in, right? Zeratul is carrying 43, 45 gems as a whole. And that really plays with the mind of LLK because it takes away so much, you know, courage from making these aggressive blink plays, as you said. Because the moment he gets caught and the moment he drops those gems, for whatever reason, he basically ruined the comeback mechanics or the comeback chances for his team by a large margin. So Now, though, was it too late already? Should he have tried to go full risk mode? That is the question, because all the lanes are pushed in. Zeratul once again in solo clear duty in the top lane. And SPT, they're posturing up for a final killing blow.
Misaka not landing the route yet, holding on to it. Stormbolt is finished, so we can potentially get that piercing Stormbolt extra lockdown here. Meantime, Phoenix is just straight up killing bot lane. No one's reacting to this at all, because Melody C is currently trying to murder them. And it's pretty good to prioritize that, because you can't defend if you're dead. But down goes that keep. First of the game, 619 dropping low as well. Heals from Max Stars are coming out, but she's low, so her heal numbers are lowered. Here comes the Cleansing Flame, but it might be too late. With Yrel already down, Purification Salvo coming out. LLK just surviving, but finally being finished off by the Tracer, who is just going for all the kills at this point.
And the defenses have been broken. The bottom lane, as you said, Tetra, had been cracked by Phoenix, who was basically left unattended the entire time. Soap now using this Archon very early on. And without breaking much of a sweat here, SPT is finishing off Beyond the Game in below 15 minutes on Tomb of the Spider Queen. From start to finish, well controlled, super good map control, super good map awareness as well, to always predict where that Zeratul was trying to get that sneaky turn in.
Nicely done here, coming in from SPT. The 2-0 is theirs, and with that, they have ruined the chances of SPT for taking control of that second place, as they have achieved a solid 29 third place. No, SPT would be taking second place.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were BTG with CE taking over.
No. SPT have ruined the chances for CE to take second place, as they have now achieved 29 points. Sorry, 30 points. I can maths. They have now achieved 30 points, and the maximum CE could have achieved would have been 28, which would have been tied with Super Perfect Team if they had gone 1-1 versus Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game, they have secured themselves in a guaranteed fourth place for the playoffs. So now all they have to do is to take their first challenger, whoever that may be, from the bottom four, and win. That's all they have to do. They have to win one game to make it to the Eastern Clash. That's it. It's still absolutely possible for Beyond the Game, but they're still in the most dangerous position out of all of the top four teams.
Absolutely true. Their place is not guaranteed, whereas for the other three teams, for the top three teams, it is pretty much just a question of seeding, right? Who are you going to face in those first rounds of the Eastern Clash? Is it going to be a top-tier Korean team like Gen.G or Tempest, or is it going to be one of your fellow midfield China teams, or one of the lower quote-unquote Korean teams like Blossom, for instance, or maybe Miracle, depending on how the rest of the Korean season ends up going.
Currently, Miracle significantly ahead of Blossom. It's all going to come down to those final 2 weeks of play, and of course, the playoffs format for HGC Korea as well. Going to be excited to see how that one goes, and who will be the opponents for, well, at this point, the guaranteed teams for China going to the Eastern Clash, because they physically cannot be dethroned. The one Super Perfect Team and Challenge. And then the final team will be anyone from Beyond the Game, KT, RPG, Team Nut, and the A-Team.
Oh boy, I just want to see another crusade of RPG, right? Last time when they played the playoffs, they just ramped it up and came all the way from last place to, what was their final score, 5th or 6th?
They lost to BTG, and then BTG lost to the 1. And yeah, that was it. And then the 1 beat SPT.
So 5th place. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Making the climb all the way from the bottom position. And it really is the cool thing about this ladder system, right? That ladder format that the HGC China players are in. Everything's possible. Even if you've had like a terrible regular season, like RPG, for example, or Team Nut, or the A-Team, if you just show up brilliantly when it really matters in the playoffs, well, the glory is yours to take.
If only a real job worked like that. Just imagine if you worked in a bank.
Only school worked like that, you know?
Yeah. Imagine if, well, a school you still have to do the research, I guess. But imagine if you worked at a bank and you just kept losing everyone's money, and someone came and was like, you know what? I'm really sick and tired of you losing my money. But on the day that they came in, you're like, oh, I've got your money. Here you go. Just because you showed up to work that day and just made some good trades or something. I don't know. That analogy got away from me. I don't know anything about banking. Either way, that is 2-0 to SPT. We shall await to head over to Tiger for the analysis segment and break down some of those replays.
And for those of you who are new to HGC China, of course, then after that replay segment, which is hopefully going to start soon, cuff cuff, We're going to have another episode of HOTS Academy with all the Chinese commentators and casters basically continuing their little soap opera about learning and improving in Heroes of a Storm. That's basically what it's all about. Like, they're discussing new patches. They're probably going to talk a lot about Jimmy and Asmo today. I could imagine maybe about Brax's Horde as well. And there's also English versions of that on YouTube. If you type in HOTS Academy English subtitles, I'm pretty sure you should be able to find those previous episodes.
We shall have to see. Also, just a pronunciation correction here. It is soap opera.
Soap opera. There we go.
Yes, a soap opera is an American talk show host in the shower, which is a very different thing.
I can't. Oh, now I can't get this image out of my head. Sopra showering with soap.
Welcome.
Just stop, Tetra.
Welcome to the book club. As we still wait for this analysis segment to start.
Are we even going to have one at this point? Okay, there we go.
Okay, we might. 9-0, 3-0. What? Wait, which map? It was a 2-lane map. Okay, so it wasn't a perfect game. You need to see that 6 if we want a perfect game for SPT. So we have yet to see a full perfect game yet.
Wow. But yeah, the domination was real, that's for sure. I mean, Tomb of the Spider Queen can be a very, very snowbally map if, and that's a big if, you just play it perfectly, and that is not an easy thing to do. So kudos to SPT for controlling the battleground from start to finish. The draft already was so well tailored to basically the playstyle of Beyond the Game, right? They tried to counter that with aggression themselves, but just like in Game 1, the aggression they tried to establish didn't really work out. You know, we saw that Zeratul being very, very hesitant, very reluctant, very afraid of losing those gems all the time. And if you're afraid of losing gems, you can't make plays happen.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to go back to my bank analogy again. I don't know why, but Zeratul right then, sure, it's really nice to have a lot of gems, in this case money. But if you can't actually get into your bank to get your money out, in this case web weavers, then what's the point in having it?
You know, if you're afraid of spending them, you're not going to get any value. You're not going to get anything out of it.
You can't use it.
Exactly.
It's very silly.
So Tyga's back on the board, looking sharp as always, and he's going to present to us some of the highlights of this previous series between BTG and SPT. Working a little bit of magic once more. Because those touchscreens are a feisty beast.
Indeed they are. But we got it working this time as we do head into game number 1 on Braxis. And this, I believe, is the first double rotation coming in. The first globals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think this might be that early skirmish in which the double global came in. And that, of course, was the bane of existence for Beyond the Game. Not only weren't they able to pick up any globals themselves, whether that was true or like their intention or getting outdrafted remains a different question. But yeah, the moment, you know, Fawcett and Dehaka were on the same page, that fight in the bottom turned completely south.
That doesn't look like that's how it's supposed to work. There we go. Fix that. But yeah, that rotation to the bot lane completely shut down BTG, who at this point were already just about to start bullying Misaka as he desperately tries to neutralize. But not desperately, he attempts to put some pressure on and neutralize the point.
Yeah, and Misaka, that is basically the name of the game, right? He's baiting those engages onto him every single time. Like, from start to finish, he was that one baiting point for Beyond the Game that they just failed to take down. Look at that. Boom, jumps to safety, dodges the Groundbreaker as well, gets swapped in, doesn't even lose half of his health there, to be honest, and here comes the surprise party.
Literally almost identical landing times. That is so
beautiful.
Cool. And they picked up the double kill there. And here's where they actually pick up like a triple kill with this keep push.
Yeah, the Zergs, the Guardians are still alive. The most dangerous sieging tools, of course, of that Zerg wave because of their massive range and damage. So, yeah, already this Garrosh is in a lot of trouble. Dehaka not even with those guys. Look at Lucky, though. With that dangerous play, he thought he could finish him off, but then comes the Malfurion tick healing just in the nick of time with that Moonfire. And Garrosh lives, and Lucky is in a precarious situation right now.
And he is in a precarious situation, but thanks to the help of his team, he is able to escape, I believe.
Yeah, the Gust comes in now. The Gust will come in.
Yeah, Gust comes in pre-Warlords or at the same time as Warlords? That's the
question. Huh.
Actually, it looks like Garrosh is stunned, as far as I can tell. I think Muradin dived and stunned him, which means it's going to be first.
So that was the saving grace. One dwarf taking care of the other, if you will. So stunning Garrosh so he can taunt, and boom goes the gust. Beautiful
Good
detail
angle,
there.
actually splitting them around the keep, and only Garrosh actually went into a scroll of ceiling there.
All right, so it looks like we're going to analyze another draft here. And once again, like we talked about this during the game as well, during the actual draft. So Taiga, by the way, highlighting the draft pattern. So 2-2, 1-2. So because, like a lot of people, when they watch Heroes of the Storm, or when they play their own games online, they're like, yeah, sure, why didn't we go for that hero? Oh my goodness, that hero was so bad. But what they oftentimes end up forgetting is the drafting sequence. Sometimes if you pick a certain hero, you had no chance of anticipating that a certain counter would get picked later.
Exactly. That is, I have to spend a lot of time doing that during games where someone's like, why do we even pick this hero? They had this. It's like, yeah, but that was second to last pick and they picked that last pick. Well, that was in first rotation. It was worked with our comp at the time and we didn't ban it. Mistakes can be fixed, but there's only so much you can do with the knowledge you have.
All right, so yeah, if you look at it, like the meaningful picks here inside of BTG are basically the Cassia and the Zeratul, because those were picked after the Tracer was shown, right? Cassia, you know, sometimes considered to be that Tracer counter because of her physical resilience. However, Cassia kind of being susceptible to getting countered herself, and that's exactly what SPT did with that Arthas pick. Other heroes were still available, like that Garrosh, for example, ETC as well. But none of them, maybe ETC could have gotten the job done as well with his superior CC, but none of them would have been that consistent threat like an Arthas.
And that Arthas, it really was such a clutch choice. We can iterate. We can go on about it for pretty much the entirety of this analysis segment, but I really also want to talk about the fact that Tracer Tassadar, in that position, it's post-Muradin, which is already one of the heroes who can do okay against Tracer, but it's also post the Alexstrasza. That's where you can actually get really interesting, because Alexstrasza pre-Dragon Queen has massive issues versus Tracer.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Very well countered there on the side of SPT this time around. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived. Tetra and I are going on a short break, and we're going to watch the newest episode of HOTS Academy together. After that, we're going to have 2 more games to go, so don't miss out and stay with us.